So here I am on the bridge of the Isle of Ferry under the watchful eye of the navigators, on my way to meet with Dr. Nick Morgan to share a taste of some of this year's special releases. While I'm on Isla, I've heard that the Lagavulin Isla Jazz Festival is on, so I'm going to try and take in a couple of performances. I really can't wait. So that's me on site now, and as you can hear in the background, the Lagavulin Isla Jazz Festival is in full swing. Before I go and hear the band, I'm going to go and chat to Dr. Nick Morgan about this year's special releases. So Nick, we find ourselves here in warehouse number 1 at Lagavulin Distillery, ready to taste some fantastic whisky from this year's special releases. But before we do, would you mind sharing a bit of your history with the classic malts?
Sure, Donald. I've been lucky enough to be involved with the classic malts for about 20 years. And during that time, I've done a bit of everything, really. I've worked on the great brands like Lagavulin and like Talisker. I was involved in starting the Distillers Edition range back in about 97. I've been involved in some of the great activities we've done, like Friends of the Classic Malts, and like the Lagavulin Isla Jazz Festival here. And also, probably the thing I'm most proud of is starting off the special release program about 10 years ago. Okay, and that's obviously why we're here today for the special releases. So, but could you tell me a little bit about what this year's special releases are, and more importantly, how they're chosen? Well, how they're chosen, it's a bit like being a small boy in a sweet shop, really, because we have such fantastic whiskies to work with. And what we've done over the past 10 years is try and set up a pattern of looking around the inventory and finding some things that are very rare and very collectible. So that would be whiskies like the Port Ellen from here on Isla, and the Brora, which we bottle every year, but in very small quantities, maybe about 400, 500 cases only. And then some other real scarcities. So this year we've got Rosebank, beautiful distillery in the Lowlands, which sadly closed in the 1990s. So you don't see that on the market very often. They all sound absolutely perfect, but obviously there's a lot to try there. But what are we going to be trying today here on Isla? Well, Donald, we're on Isla, so we've got to, and we're in Lagavulin. Yes. So we've got to taste Lagavulin, and we're also going to taste Port Ellen from the really iconic distillery just along the road here, which closed in 1983. That sounds great, Nick. But which one are we going to try first? Well, Donald, we've got these two great whiskies here. The Lagavulin is 12-year-old. Okay. The Port Ellen is 32 years old. They're both natural cask strength, but I think really we should look at the Lagavulin first, and then look at the Port Ellen. Sounds great. Yeah, sure. You can get that nose prickle from the higher alcohol. But I think what you automatically get as well is, the Lagavulinness of this. I was tasting new make spirit in here yesterday, and there's a straight line from the whiskey here as it comes off the still to this 12-year-old, and then through to the 16-year-old as well. I think the difference here is that the 12-year-old is a bit brasher, a bit more vibrant than the 16-year-old. The wood hasn't worked on it so much, so it doesn't have the rich characteristics of the 16-year-old. It's just got that real strong distillery character. And also what I think you find with this Lagavulin, people talk about Isla whiskies and medicinal character or maritime character, and this 12-year-old for me is like fish and chip paper with that sort of vinegar and salty, really appetizing smell. And it's great to taste as well. See, that's the other thing that people forget about Lagavulin. It's so sweet. Around here, really sweet, fruity, rich fruity. And then you have these phenols releasing. Just comes back into your mouth, and like that lovely sweet burst to begin with, but that lovely smoke, and it comes back into your mouth. It's quite chewy as well. But you see what I mean about the smoke? It's very much sort of that wood smoke Lagavulin trademark. And as I say, there's an absolute straight line from the new make. And the interesting thing is, if we go and look at the Port Ellen, it's 20 years older. And one of the things you can see is how age works on smoke. Now, some people say that older is better, and we know that's not the case. We know here older is going to be very different, and it's about which you prefer. Now, of course, people go crazy about Port Ellen because it's just so difficult to find. So we do about 500 cases, I think, just each year. And I know people like to collect it, but to me, this is a whiskey for tasting and trying. It's not one for keeping on a cupboard. No, it's not one for a shelf. So how would you describe it? It's got, again, there is that the woody element to it. It's not as
again, we use the term medicinal sometimes to describe some of the smoke, but it's almost the woody element coming through. Behind it there is a kind of marzipan-y, toffee element.
And that's the sort of rich character that you'd expect from being in a cask for 20 years. I mean, it's not a European oak cask, so it's just a bourbon cask. So it's not, you haven't got those rich, winey characters that you sometimes get. But it's far more delicate than you might expect.
So it's like fennel on a charcoal bed, just nice and gentle.
Ooh, it's spicy.
It is actually. For such a gentle nose, there's
Yeah.
a slight burst of life on the tongue.
Yeah, yeah.
For all those years in the cask, the whisky is still very much doing all the talking here.
And I think also, when you taste it, and when you swallow it, that's when it reminds you where it's come from, because those phenols are building up at the end. And it's really quite a smoky, strong, intense finish.
Yeah. And it's still there. With every chew, with every secondary swallow, it comes back into your mouth.
So which one do you prefer, Donald?
Well, they're both fantastic whiskies,
Yeah.
but I'm Lagavulin man at heart. I do enjoy my Lagavulin, so I would have to favour the Lagavulin today. Yeah. Nick, I can't thank you enough for today. It's been fantastic being able to share these whiskies with you. But as it's the Jazz Festival today, I'm going to go and take in some of the concerts. Thank you, Nick.
Cheers, Donald. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. What a great day I've had here on Isla. From this morning, where I've been able to share a taste of some of our fantastic special releases before they've even been bottled, to be able to take in some great jazz performances. So from the gig behind me, I'm carrying on my journey. I hope you can join me. Please feel free to leave your comments in the space below. We'd love to hear from you.